Headline: Trump supporters have a meltdown after Green Day slam MAGA agenda during New Year's show. So we're having a meltdown, we're having a breakdown, we're having lots of mental problems. This is very difficult. In their performance in New Year's Eve Times Square on Sunday, instead of saying, "I'm not a part of a redneck agenda," lead singer Billie Joe Armstrong sang, "I'm not a part of a MAGA agenda." If they wanted to get more headlines, they at least succeeded in that. Now let's think about their original lyric, "I'm not a part of a redneck agenda." It gets to 2 points. Number one, it says, I'm not a part of the Republican groups. I'm not associated with George W. Bush. That's very low status. It also says, I'm not a part of kind of downscale whites who would subscribe to the George W. Bush regime. So they want to make sure, just so you know, they're not with the uncool Republican people. Nowadays, the media has a new enemy, namely MAGA. So Green Day wants you to know that they're also on board with that. Ironically, they're with the media program, whether it is targeted against George W. Bush or whether it's targeted against MAGA. I say ironically because the whole message of the song American Idiot is that they don't listen to the media. The sound of hysteria is one of the lyrics from the verses. But in fact, they are quite easily persuaded by the media hysteria. The original target of American Idiot, George W. Bush, and the Iraq War, kind of turns out Green Day had a point. If they were criticizing the Iraq War and the media push for that war, then we have to say that in terms of who was right, I think Green Day kind of won that one. And a lot of conservatives were persuaded to support the Iraq War, who nowadays might look at that issue quite differently. However, a lot of those conservatives are MAGA people. So conservatives who are kind of anti-war and skeptical of a media push for war, such as in Ukraine or even the Israel-Gaza situation, are now being castigated by Green Day. The MAGA people are the ones who are resisting the push by the media for these wars and conflicts. So Green Day doesn't, make that fine distinction. Now, let me try to say something nice about Green Day, because at the time, I'm a Generation Xer, so I think I was in college when they were big, and I was never a fan, and I always actually strongly disliked Green Day. But I think I'm a little bit more objective now, that I don't really have a stake in what music is popular. I don't really care. And looking back, it's like Green Day sounds like fairly stripped down rock and roll compared to what's going on now with music. If you can just put a pause on the smug lyrics, it's a pretty good song musically. I like the guitar riff and the kind of stop-start dynamic in the verses. It works. And you can see why Green Day was famous. I mean, they kind of had a good look and they had a good sound, so they were very marketable. In sum, Green Day had a good look, they had a handsome lead singer, decent songs, and they had like a faux rebellion for teeny boppers. That's basically why they were so successful. However, in their music video for the song, they imply that the Iraq War is all about getting the oil, which I think is kind of a naive take on why we were actually in Iraq. I think it had more to do with geopolitics, maybe even Israel, foreign lobby, but you wouldn't expect Green Day to know anything about that. Their audience is basically a bunch of shitlibs in New York City on New Year's Eve, probably mostly women or young people, and they're not going to like Trump, so saying something bad about Trump is not really that edgy. This is not real rebellion. This is actually agreeing with the system. And we can look at some headlines that demonstrate that Green Day is in complete agreement with the system. So to sum up, if Billie Joe Armstrong wants to say F Trump, and they want to change the lyrics of American Idiot to I'm not down with the MAGA agenda, it's all good, he's free to say that, obviously. But just don't think that it's cool and edgy. He's basically just agreeing with what everyone else is saying. He's agreeing with his audience. He's agreeing with the media, he's agreeing with Hollywood, and it's not edgy, it's not shocking, it's not provocative. It's just basically a low IQ rock star who's good at what he does, but he's not really like John Lennon changing the culture or something. Here's from Rolling Stone, of course, one of the most popular publications in music journalism. Headline: Trump supporters have a meltdown after Green Day slam MAGA agenda during New Year's show. So they love the idea that Trump supporters are melting down. They're having a breakdown. The band changed the lyrics to their 2004 song American Idiot while performing on ABC's Dick Clark's New Year's Rockin' Eve with Ryan Seacrest. So there are several headlines like this that are literally the same thing. Trump supporters are melting down, and then the Daily Beast had an article that said Trump supporters are breaking down. So there's a bit of a narrative happening here, and they love the idea that Trump supporters are triggered. Oh, are you triggered? They love to kind of turn that around. But meanwhile, it's like we basically just have contempt for Green Day, at least for their political message. Again, the music is fine. It's fun. I was not a fan, but, looking back, their music is okay. And we just think it's funny, the idea that Green Day is on some kind of elevated moral plane that they're shocking us with their wisdom. They're really waking us up with how radical their message is and how brave and valiant they are. I don't think so, but you can kind of see what my take is on it. My name is Michael McCara. Thank you so much for watching. You could visit my blog at michaelmccarablog.com. In the description, also find my Twitter handle and follow me on Twitter. And finally, and most importantly, like and subscribe to my content. I mean, like this video.
I've only heard what love can do, and now I'm getting love from you. Make your vows, make your vows.